Oh, you may have felt like that at some point in your career in school, right? Okay. Well, taking tests. But now you're on the teacher's side of the desk, and let's see what it looks like from there. What does it mean to assess your students? After you've done all this careful planning, written objectives, what do you do now about assessing your students? Well, I mentioned a while ago about backward planning. It's what some people call a, quote, best practice in education. We plan backwards. We start with writing an objective of what we want our students to be able to do and demonstrate at the end of the lesson, and then what criteria and what level of the taxonomy it needs to show. We create the assessment then of what it is that students are going to do to prove that kind of mastery. And then we plan the activities that students are going to participate in that will get them ready for that assessment to show mastery of that skill or that concept. That's backward planning. Well, now you, as a teacher, might say, well, I need to give a test. What kind of tests are there, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of different kinds of tests? Well, there's the essay test, for instance. It's a good way to find out about student comprehension, or, depending on how you word the essay instruction, to get students to analyze. But you need to make sure you include the criteria. Otherwise, you're going to have students just writing and writing and writing just to impress you with how many words they can put on a page. No, you're looking for specific criteria in that essay. Multiple choice and matching kinds of tests are good if you want your students to be able to recognize the correct answer out of some choices. Whereas true, false, fill in the blanks actually forces your students to recall information. They don't have choices in front of them and all they have to do is figure out, oh yeah, I remember it's that one. No, they have to know what that one is, so that's recall. It's a different kind of test for a different purpose. You may give a test that involves problem solving to show that they can apply skills and concepts, or they're able to analyze data. You have to consider the pros and cons of each kind of test and what it takes to grade them, but you also have to think about, for every kind of test, which kinds of students will benefit most from that kind of test, and that might give you the clue that you're going to need to not always do the same kind of test, because that would give advantage and disadvantage to particular students, and you certainly don't want to do that. Now, in current educational circles, there's a lot of emphasis being put on another kind of assessment, and it's what we call performance-based or authentic assessment, which is not the same as giving a quiz, giving a test, assigning an essay. Instead, it's where you have students show each other what they have learned, especially when it comes to independent or group research. They might prove what they've learned by putting together a portfolio to show their progress and what they have learned on this topic. And that portfolio might include words, graphics, any number of things. Could be exhibition. Come in next week with a poster that shows whatever it is you require them to show. They might be required to demonstrate something, maybe put together a video or a slideshow to show off to the rest of the class what they've learned. It's very good for group assessment. It's very good for individual assessment. Performance-based then takes away some of that test stress factor that happens with students. But in order for authentic assessment to really work, you have to define very carefully how students earn grade or points toward final grade. I'll feel like, okay, the teacher is grading fairly. Now, I have here a sample rubric that is very, very primitive, but it just gives you an idea. You've sent off students to do some independent research, and they're supposed to come back with some kind of finished product, portfolio, slideshow, or something. But you also give them this rubric, a rubric that has criteria that tells them how they will be scored so that they can see ahead of time how many points they're likely to earn. So, if they've done research, how many sources? If they found more than 5 sources, they can earn up to 10 points. If they've found fewer than 5 sources, they can only earn up to 5 points. If they include at least 10 facts or more, they can earn up to 10 points in that category. If they have under 10 facts, fewer than 10 facts, they can only earn up to 5 points. You see the point here. You're showing them the criteria in categories for what you expect their authentic assessment to be. And that way, if 2 portfolios look so completely different to each other, it's okay because they're all being scored or graded or assessed on the same criteria. That way, if somebody has a portfolio and someone else does interpretive dance, it's okay because everybody is expected to work under the same set of criteria. And that is what rubrics are good for, especially when you're doing authentic assessment. So I would encourage you to look more into this because I wouldn't call it a trend, but it's a realization that this kind of assessment is more like the real world, and it gives students a chance to branch out and try new skills and new talents and to work with technology more. It's a type of assessment that gives students more of a feeling of independence as well, and that can be tremendous. So do some research about this and see. Yes, there are teacher-made tests and essays and true, false, and all that, but then there is also this kind of assessment which has great value at just the right times.